Hey guys, Ike here from Mike'sOutdoors.com. In today's video, I want to show you guys what I do to a bow when I am doing a bow review. And I'm not going to walk through step-by-step how-to video or anything like that. This is basically just showing you how I get a bow in and what I do to it when it's in the testing process. So this is the next bow review we've got coming up, which will probably be done the next video right after this one. This is the 2017 Elite Tempo bow that I'm really looking forward to testing. So this is how I get the bow in, exactly like this, just like you would get the bow when you buy it. It's not set up, there's no rest on there, there's no sight, there's no nothing. So the first thing that I'll do to this bow when I get it in is check two things. The first thing that I check is the draw weight, because this is a 70-pound bow, and with a 70-pound bow, any bow really, the max weight, sometimes they have a tendency to go over the max weight, sometimes they have a tendency to be slightly under. So I'll check this on my digital scale and make sure that this is set at exactly 70 pounds. If I can't get it to 70 pounds, if it's just a tad bit under, then I make the note of that in my review that's saying, okay, this bow only maxed out at 69 pounds. But 90% of the time these bows come in, they're slightly over. They'll be 71, 72, something like that. So this bow here actually came in and it's right at 71.5 pounds or something like that. So I'll take a quarter turn out of each limb until I get it to precisely 70 pounds. The second thing that I check is the draw length, because I want the draw length to be absolutely as true as I can. Some of these bows I can't really adjust it, because some of these bows like this one are module based. I can change the draw stop a little bit, and that's going to tweak with it just a touch, but not real, not a whole lot. So I check the draw weight on my draw board, or I check the draw length on my draw board while I'm actually checking the draw weight. I do both at the same time. And the draw length on this one, this bow only goes down to 28, normally at 27.5. And the draw length on this one, when it come down to it, was like 28 and 1/8. So it's right there at that draw length. Sometimes I get them where they're supposed to be 28 and they come in and they're generally pretty true. Sometimes they're off by 1/4 of an inch, but generally they're pretty true. Most bows these days are pretty true to the draw length. So the next thing that I'll do is I'll put a peep sight on here, or I'll put a D-loop on here, and I'll put my rest on here, and I'll get that all squared up. Then I will put my peep sight in and get that set up and get it tuned to where it's shootable. Next thing I'll do is I'll install a sight. Now, when it comes time for tuning, I don't do anything special to these bows for tuning to enhance performance or anything like that. I do some tuning to get it shooting properly. What I don't do is I don't mess with this cam. There are some of these cams out there that you can tweak with the cam and get it in a really nice position and do what they call super tuning, which I don't believe is a true thing, but you can do things to this cam to get more or less speed out of it, and I don't do any of that. What I do with this bow is I paper tune it, and I make sure that it's not shooting, that the arrow spine is correct. For my setup, generally it's a 340, 350 spine arrow. So you'll see me shooting different weight arrows, but they're all 340, 350 spine, or whatever the bow calls out for. They're all spined correctly. And what I generally do is set it up for my mid-grain arrow, which is right at that 375 to 400 grain mark. So I'll get it tuned for that. I'll shoot it through paper, make sure that arrow is the proper arrow for that bow. Now the next thing I do is I'll step back and I'll broadhead, or I'll walk back tune this bow, modified French tune this bow, to make sure that the rest is perfectly centered. And then the last thing that I do in the tuning process is broadhead tune this bow. Just like I'm going to take it out and I'm going to go hunting with it. And I'll broadhead tune it, and I'll make sure it's shooting. When I broadhead tune, I use like a saber tooth or a dirt nap or something like that. A big 2-blade cut on contact type of broadhead that's going to have a little bit of issues with flight. I don't use a mechanical or anything like that. I use a big broadhead that's generally a little tougher to tune. So at that point, the bow has been paper tuned, it's been walk back tuned, and it has been broadhead tuned. It is officially, that is what I do to my hunting bows. It's ready to go to the woods and hunt. As far as any other special tuning, I don't do any other kind of special tuning to it. To me, I think that's a fair representation of the bow's performance, because that's what I'm going to do to get it ready for 3D or deer hunting or whatever I'm going to do with it. So, of course, the next thing I do is I sight it in. Like I said, I sight it in with my mid-weight arrow, my 375 to 400 grain arrow, and I do that simply because when I'm shooting it through my chronograph, even the lightweight arrows that I'm shooting, 350s up to the 450s that I'm shooting, will shoot through my chronograph and shoot accurately enough I ain't got to worry about it banging off my chronograph. And each one of those arrows being the same spine, I get the same flight out of them. They don't kick, they don't do anything weird because they're the same spine. They fly perfect. And the only thing is when I'm shooting, when I'm sighting it in, the heavier arrow drops down lower and the lighter weight arrow drops down or raises up. So that's the only difference. Each one of those arrows is different. Even though they're different weight, they still shoot through paper and still walk back tune and still broadhead tune exactly like the arrow that I have this thing sighted in for. Now when it comes time for the actual shooting process of it, I use the lightest weight arrow that I have. I generally mix them up and use like a 350 grain and then the next step up. And that gives you a good representation of how this bow sounds with the lightweight arrow, because the lighter the arrow is, the lighter this bow is going to be. And it also gives me the representation of the vibration that I can expect out of this bow, because more noise, more vibration. So that gives me a representation of basically this bow at its worst. I can take a lot of that vibration and noise out by switching from a 350 grain arrow to the 450 grain arrow. But I want a representation of this bow at its worst, and I want you guys to hear that when I'm on the audio of this video camera when I'm filming. So if I was to put a 350 grain arrow in there versus a 450 grain arrow, you're going to be able to tell the difference, and that's why I shoot the lightweight arrows when I'm actually out doing the video of me shooting it. So that is a step-by-step walkthrough of how I do my bow reviews. I think that that's fair, and I do that way on every bow that I test across the board. I think it's a fair representation of how this bow is going to perform on a 3D range, how it's going to perform on a hunting trip, and I think it gives you a good representation of the actual real-world speeds that you're going to get out of this bow. Now, the other thing too is before you guys ever see a video, this bow gets about 100 to 150 arrows through it. You know, because I want to do it in a timely manner. I'd like to put 500 arrows through it, but I want to do these videos in a timely manner for you, for me, and for the companies that I'm testing. But I also want to get as many arrows through it as possible. So I try to do 150, sometimes as many as 200 arrows through this bow. Now, the other thing I want to talk about real quick is the setup on this bow. Like this Elite Tempo, most likely, a lot of these bows I get are just loaners. So I'll set them up, I'll shoot them, and then when I'm done with the review, I just send them back. Some of them I buy. Now the difference, you're going to be able to tell the difference is, this Elite Tempo I think I'm going to end up having to send back. I may end up buying it because I haven't shot it yet, but this one I'll put a just plain Jane, probably octane rest on it. I'll put just some cheap sights on it, put the peep sight in there and serve it in, and that'll be about it. And I don't shoot them with the stabilizer because I want to feel the balance of the bow, and I don't want the stabilizer taking any vibration out. So if you see the bow with just a octane rest on it and a cheap sight and a peep sight on there, that's probably a bow that I'm going to send back. If you see a bow set up like my Cyborg here, where I've got, you know, all matching colors on it, I've got the drop away rest on there, I've got my Trophy Ridge V5 or whatever this one's called. This is a bow that I'm keeping. This is actually a bow that I had last year and kept. But this is a bow that I'm going to keep. You know, these bows are set up not better, but they're set up with better equipment than a bow that I'm going to send back. So they're set up equally. They're tuned equally. Everything's done the same. Just sometimes I know I'm going to have to send a bow back, so I put accessories on it that I have just laying around that are easier for me and quicker for me to set up. So that's how I do my bow reviews. That is everything. That is specific from the time this goes out of the box to the time I do the video. That's what I do to these bows. So just wanted to put this out there and let you guys know, you know, how I do it, and let you know that we are getting ready to do a review. We're getting ready to start our bow reviews. The first one up is this Elite Tempo that I am really looking forward to shooting. To check back with us, the next video we put up will be the review of this Elite Tempo. We'll probably put this one up early in the week and put the Elite Tempo up late in the week. So check back with us for a full review on this Elite Tempo. please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Again, that really helps us out if you guys do that. Just taking the time to give us a thumbs up helps us out, lets us know that you like our videos. Of course, subscribing and sharing our videos helps us, grow the channel and things like that. So please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Please be sure to check out all of our videos if you want to check out all of our videos from now till all the way back to 9 years ago when we started this. They're all on IkesOutdoors.com. And if you want to follow us and keep up with us and see what we have coming up, be sure to check us out on Facebook. And again, that one's under Ike's Outdoors. So appreciate you guys watching, and keep an eye out for the review on this Elite Tempo.